Students shuffle into class expecting Dr. Dillamond's usual lecture. Instead, soldiers enter the room and escort him away. There's no explanation, no announcement. He's simply removed and another teacher takes his place. The transition is seamless. Administrative, final. No one intervenes. Elphaba stands. She asks if anyone is going to do something. If anyone is going to question why Dr. Dillamond has been taken away. The room doesn't respond. The other students stare forward, silent, eyes fixed on their desks. After a moment, Elphaba sits back down. She understands there's nothing she can do alone. The lesson continues. The new teacher reveals a cage. Inside it, a lion cub trembles, huddled in the corner, letting out small, frightened growls. The teacher introduces this as the future, a new invention, something that's supposedly good for Oz, and, he claims, good for animals. To demonstrate, he strikes the cage with a stick. Elphaba interrupts. If this is so beneficial, she asks, why is the cub trembling? The teacher replies calmly that the animal is happy to be here. It's an obvious lie. He explains that the real benefit of the cage is control. Animals who are confined early enough, he says, will never learn to speak. The implication is chilling. Silence isn't a side effect, it's the goal. This is how authority operates. You're taught to believe what you're told, not what you can see. The state doesn't need convincing answers. It only needs answers that are good enough. For most people, they are. Elphaba turns to Glinda and Fiyero. What are we going to do? Fiyero hesitates. We? Elphaba pauses, then says it plainly. Well, someone's got to do something. Up until now, Elphaba has pointed out injustice. She's complained. She's questioned. But this is the moment where that stops being enough. This is her first real act of resistance. She grabs the poppies from her desk and slams them down. The flowers lift into the air, drifting through the classroom. Pollen spreads slowly, invisibly. One by one, the students fall asleep. The teacher collapses mid-lecture. Glinda slumps forward at her desk. Only Elphaba and Fiyero remain standing. Fiyero looks around, confused. And then he understands. He rushes to the cage and lifts the lion cub into his arms. Together they flee. They slip out of the institution that has just revealed its true face. The lion cub hidden in a bicycle basket. Rescued not by policy, debate, or permission, but by refusal. They reach a secluded clearing far from the school. Elphaba kneels and opens the cage. The lion cub hesitates, sniffing the air, then suddenly bolts into the undergrowth and disappears. Elphaba watches it go, a soft smile crossing her face. It's a rare moment of peace. What she did mattered, even if only a little. Fiyero breaks the silence. He asks why she's always causing a commotion. Elphaba doesn't hesitate. She says she is the commotion. Resistance in a system that has learned to normalize cruelty is almost always framed this way, not as morality, but as disruption. When most people are comfortable enough to tolerate injustice, the person who refuses becomes the problem. Label them awkward, difficult, excessive, anything that makes everyone else feel justified in doing nothing. Fiyero scoffs, half challenging, as if this were a personal choice, a temperament issue. Elphaba pushes back. So what? She asks. She should keep her mouth shut? Stop being empathetic? She admits, honestly, that she wishes she didn't care, that it would be much easier if she could look away. But she can't. This isn't a decision she's making, it's who she is. Then she turns the question back on him. He could have walked away back there, he didn't. She calls out the version of himself he pretends to be, shallow, self-absorbed, unaffected. She tells him it's an act. She knows because he's unhappy. Elphaba understands Fiyero in a way Glinda doesn't. Where Glinda's lack of care is instinctive, Fiyero's is learned. He isn't unbothered by cruelty. He's disengaged from it, displaced, choosing distance over confrontation. A moment later, he breaks away. He says he'd better get the lion to safety, and with that, he turns and leaves. Fiyero isn't ready yet, not to name what he did and not to face what Elphaba represents. Choosing resistance would mean giving up the easy life still available to him, the one promised by comfort, status, and Glinda. That conflict lingers, and it carries directly into the next song. I'm not that girl. Alone in the woods, walking back through the fading light, Elphaba finally lets her guard down. With no one watching, no one judging, her thoughts turn inward, and she begins to sing. Hands touch, eyes meet, sudden silence, sudden heat. I'm not that girl is deliberately small. There's no belt, no surge of power, no defiance, just the quiet ache of someone who already knows the answer. Elphaba doesn't rage. She doesn't resent Glinda. She doesn't blame Fiyero. She understands. She can see the invisible structure that organizes the world, and she knows exactly where she stands within it. Glinda has softness the world rewards, beauty that reassures, charm that smooths friction. Elphaba has intensity, sharpness, presence, and green skin. The kind of difference that doesn't disappear just because someone wants it to. For a moment, she allows herself to imagine what it would be like to be chosen, not as an exception, not as a risk, but effortlessly. Then she stops herself. Don't wish, don't start. Wishing only wounds the heart. This isn't self-pity, it's self-preservation. Elphaba removes herself before she's pushed, not because she thinks she deserves less, but because she's learned how the system works. This is what survival looks like when you understand the hierarchy too well to fight it in every moment. I'm Not That Girl isn't just a love song, it's a social autopsy, a record of how inequality teaches people to anticipate rejection and to disappear gracefully before it arrives. She knows who gets the fairy tale, and she knows she doesn't, so she lets it go. Quietly, gracefully, alone. Back at Shiz, life appears to carry on, at least on the surface. But that normality doesn't last. One day, Madame Morrible arrives with astonishing news. The wonderful Wizard of Oz has sent for Elphaba. After the incident with the poppies, Morrible wrote to him herself. He's heard of Elphaba's magical ability, and he wants to meet her in person at the Emerald City. This is everything Elphaba has dreamed of. The man she once idolized. The figure she believed could change the world. He's asking for her. At the train station, Glinda confides in Elphaba. She's been worried about Fiyero. She says he's been thinking. Glinda admits she doesn't even believe he's perfect anymore. But she loves him anyway. Then Fiyero arrives. He speaks openly about what happened in Dr. Dillamond's class. How wrong it felt, how disturbing it was to watch everyone do nothing. Glinda responds instinctively. She gathers a small crowd and announces that from now on she will be known as Glinda, not Galinda, framing it as an act of resistance in honor of Dr. Dillamond. The crowd applauds, and this moment matters. Glinda adopts the appearance of resistance, a symbolic gesture that costs her nothing but earns her approval. It isn't action, it's branding, a public identity shaped to look moral, rewarded instantly by social validation. Then Elphaba turns to her, hopeful. Come with me. Glinda doesn't hesitate. She says yes. She hops aboard the train, thrilled by the adventure and perhaps a little afraid of being left behind. The two girls settle into their seats as the train pulls away. Emerald fields stretch out before them. They laugh, they chatter, they're full of hope. In their minds, this journey could change everything, and it will, just not in the way they expect. Elphaba and Glinda arrive in the Emerald City, and the film explodes into color and spectacle. It's a sharp contrast to the muted, institutional grays of Shiz. Everything here glows green. Everything moves. Oz doesn't hide its power when it performs it. For the first time in a long while, Elphaba can breathe. The girls burst into the jubilant song, One Short Day, swept up in excitement and awe. This is their chance to experience the city before meeting the wizard himself. The number carries them through a montage of wonder. Ozians twirl in emerald silk along the boulevard. Glittering sweets shimmer with magic. Glinda poses in boutique windows, trying on coats and ribbons. while Elphaba pulls her toward lectures on magical theory and animal rights. Their interests differ, but their joy is shared. And notably, this is the first place Elphaba doesn't stand out. In the Emerald City, green is fashionable. Her otherness dissolves into the crowd. No one stares, no one recoils. For once, she moves freely, and without explanation, without defense. She catches a glimpse of what life could look like if the world stopped resisting difference. There's a brief, affectionate aside as two older citizens pause to offer directions and nod knowingly at the girls. Fans will recognize them as Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth, the original Broadway Elphaba and Glinda. It plays like a quiet blessing, a passing of the torch. But the montage isn't just joy. In the background, subtle signals tell a different story. Construction on a yellow brick road extension suggests expansion. Murals depict the wizard as a savior figure. Eye-shaped lamps and uniformed patrols watch the streets, smiling but never quite warm. Everything is beautiful. Everything is controlled. By the time the song fades, Elphaba and Glinda stand before the wizard's palace. Towering, gleaming, unnaturally radiant. They clutch each other's hands, nervous but hopeful. Elphaba smooths her dress. Glinda adjusts her curls. For the first time, Elphaba is accepted. She blends in. She belongs. And that feeling is powerful, because once you've tasted belonging, risking it becomes much harder. The Emerald City represents everything Elphaba thought she wanted: visibility, opportunity, proximity to power. This is the height of her integration into the system. She is closer than ever to believing that change can come through cooperation, through being invited in, which is exactly why what happens next breaks her. Because Elphaba is about to learn that power is not neutral. It doesn't simply need talent or good intentions. It requires silence, compromise, and scapegoats. Elphaba and Glinda are escorted through the grand halls of the palace, dwarfed by marble columns and gold-inlaid corridors. When they reach the wizard's private chamber, it appears exactly as legend promised. A vast room dominated by a towering mechanical head of Oz. Looming, metallic, impersonal. They bow nervously. Then the machine sputters. Sparks flash. Gears grind to a halt. And from behind a curtain steps the wizard himself, Oscar Diggs. He isn't 10 feet tall. He isn't wreathed in smoke or fire. He's an older man with an easy smile, twinkling eyes, and the polished warmth of a lifelong showman. The illusion collapses and is immediately replaced by charm. The wizard laughs heartily, greeting them like old friends. He launches into a sentimental man, a self-deprecating little number where he presents himself as kind, humble, and accidental in his power, someone who simply came to Oz by luck and only ever wanted to help. It works. Glinda can barely contain her excitement. She's starstruck. Elphaba, meanwhile, feels something deeper, almost reverent. This is the man she's admired all her life, the figure she believed could make things right. The wizard invites them to sit, speaking in a gentle, grandfatherly tone. "My dear," he says warmly, "I hear you have quite the talent. Tell me, what is it you want? Name it, and I'll grant it if I can." He tilts his head, studying her. "Is it true," he asks softly, "that your heart's desire is to no longer be green?" The question catches Elphaba off guard. This is the moment she's been waiting for. It's true. Part of her has always wished that, but she also knows it isn't the most important thing. After a brief pause, she shakes her head. What she wants, she says, is justice for the animals, their voices restored, their lives protected. She gathers her courage and begins to speak about what's happening to them, about their disappearing voices, their rights, their erasure. But before she can finish, the wizard gently interrupts her. He agrees to help, or at least he agrees to listen. But first, he suggests a demonstration. There's a small project he's been working on. He presents a display of Oz, a glowing road shown in different colors. Glinda comments that yellow is the best choice, but what's concerning isn't the color, it's the direction. Every road leads back to the Emerald City. This isn't an interest in improving Oz, it's about access, control, rapid movement toward the center of power. If the wizard truly cared about the people of Oz, he'd build infrastructure between regions, not systems designed to funnel everything back to him. Even his fixation on the road's color reveals the truth. Aesthetic appeal matters more than function. The road has to look good. It has to feel magical. So people celebrate it without noticing what it enables: surveillance, enforcement, and centralized authority that arrives before anyone has time to resist. Elphaba believes she's finally reached the center of power, not as an outsider, but as someone invited in. The wizard listens. He praises her. He offers help. This is the most dangerous moment in her story. Because the system doesn't reject her here, it welcomes her. And what comes next will force her to confront the question at the heart of Wicked: whether proximity to power can ever exist without compromise. That's where part 3 begins. If you've got thoughts on this section, or there's something specific you want me to look at next, drop a comment. I read them and I'll respond.